Well, this whole day has been a warm-up. The whole raison d'etre for this day has been a warm-up for the old guy that comes on next. Well, that was your introduction. That's it.
Will the video take Al Haig?
No, not now.
Where do I go?
Right here.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to make it.
Okay.
You okay?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
This better be good.
Pay me.
The next speaker is Ariana Huffington.
Okay.
Do well, this will make you famous.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know, I can't say enough about the TEDx conference today because I never heard of it before. You know, there were two groups here. One were the guys in black sweaters, no undershirts, and 3 days growth. They're the billionaires. The guys with shirts and ties and jackets still haven't sold their companies. Somebody back east said, "What goes on there at that conference?" I said, what they do is they say very profound things, and then they dance. And I'd like to talk today about something which people don't discuss too much, and that is humor. And people keep asking me, what does it take to become a humorist? And the answer is, first you have to have a very unhappy childhood. And I qualified for that because I was put in an orphanage and my mother was taken away, and then I was put in a series of foster homes. Well, when I was about 9 or 10, I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I'm going to become a humorist. So I made the kids laugh in grade school, made them laugh in high school, and then I went into the Marine Corps. Now you're not going to believe this, that the Marines have no use for humorists. But there is humor in the Marine Corps, even in the Marine Corps. And I'm in Tom Brokaw's book. In the chapter there, I tell him about the fact that there weren't too many Jewish guys in the Marine Corps. So a lot of the guys in my outfit had never met a Jewish person. So they used to come up to me very patronizing. And they'd say, you know, we have a family in Tulsa named Friedman. And they're very nice. They don't cheat you or anything. I said, well, give them my best if you ever see them. But it required a certain amount of fighting. And they'd pick on me, and then I'd have to defend the faith. And I got tired of it after a while. And I stopped fighting because I realized they weren't picking on me because I was Jewish. They were picking on me because I was an asshole. Now, how I got into the Marines is I ran away from home. And I was 17 years old, and I went to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I had a girl I had met that summer named Flossie Starling. And I arrived to say goodbye to Flossie before I joined the Marine Corps. And she wouldn't see me. And she had a boy from VMI there that weekend. So I had no choice, and I went in to join the Marines at the post office. And the recruiting sergeant said, you know, you have to have your parents' consent because you're 17. I said, don't worry about that. I'll find it. And he said, this has to be notarized. So I went outside the post office, and there was Skid Row there. And an old drunk came up to me and said, can I have 10 cents for a drink? I said, I'll do better than that. I'll buy you a pint of whiskey if you be my father. And he said, why, that's patriotic. But there's a very poignant story involved in my Marine Corps. It really made me as a person. And it's in Tom's book, I think. It had to do, I had a Marine drill instructor who was the meanest guy in the world. And 20 years later, Life magazine asked me to go back, and I went back with him to do Paris Island Revisited. And then about 20 years after that, I got a call from his friend saying, your DOI has cancer and he's in the hospital. So I called him up and we talked for a while. And then I remembered I had a big picture from life of the two of us. So I wrote it to Pete Bernardi, who made a man out of me. I'll always remember you. And his wife wrote me after he died and said, he had the picture up on his hospital door, but better than that, he had it buried with him when he died. And when Tom tells that story, he really gets tears in his eyes because he's very moved by that. And that was what the Marine Corps to me was that, you know, it's funny, when we were in the platoon in Paris Island, we were divided between air and ground. And I was put in the air part, to do with airplanes, and also take care of planes. And I got very angry because I wanted to be John Wayne on the ground. So I went in to see my DI, and I said, sir, when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, they said I could be a paratrooper. So he looked up and he said, okay, you're a paratrooper. But I wasn't a very good Marine, and I wasn't a very good ordnance man. And this is a true story. I loaded a 500-pound bomb on a fighter plane, and it slipped and fell to the ground. Well, everybody ran. And I held my leg because I knew they'd kill me. So the next day, my CO called me and they said, I'm putting you in for the Navy Cross. And I said, why? He said, well, you forgot to fuse the bomb. And you saved the lives of 500. After the Marine Corps, I decided to go to the University of Southern California because they're the only ones who would have me. And it was very interesting going to the Marine Corps. One of the things that was interesting about it is when I got to the college, and also when I got married and everything, I kept increasing what I had done in the Marine Corps. So when I was in college, I said I was a gunner on a fighter plane. Well, the fighter plane doesn't have a gunner. But they didn't know. And then when my wife came along, I said I was the one who put the flag on Iwo Jima. And then when the kids came, I said, I was Pappy Boyington's commanding officer, and the only one who would give him a second chance. And finally, I had no choice when my grandchildren came and said, I dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. But the USC was a very good experience because I did not play football at USC, but I did something far more important. I took the English test for the football team. And I was doing well until the linebacker complained to the coach that I got him a D in Shakespeare and was hurting his chances of getting into medical school. After 3 years at the University of Southern California, I heard I could go to Paris on the GI Bill. And this is 1948. So I went to Paris, and while I was over there, supposedly going to school, I went to the Herald Tribune, and I got a job writing a column for them. And I invented this idea that I was a food critic, and I wrote about food and restaurants. And one day, my managing editor came up to me and said, "Where do you get your credentials to be a food critic of our paper?" And I said, "I was a food taster in the Marine Corps." And I had some marvelous experiences in Paris writing this column. And I guess the greatest time I ever had in my life to this day was I went to the opera where General de Gaulle was giving a opera for Premier Khrushchev. And I was a newspaper man, so I could go with my white tie. And while I was there, I walked out of the opera on the second floor, and I walked over to the curtain, and I opened it. There were 20,000 communists in the square at the Place de l'Opera waiting to see Khrushchev. So I went out on the balcony. $20,000 people cheered me. And then I raised my hand, and 20,000 hands went up. And I was there for 25 minutes, having the greatest time of my life. And the next day I called up the embassy and said, "I can do anything the communists want me to." Another wonderful experience, I won't go too many of these. Another one was at Warsaw. I went to Warsaw driving to Moscow, and we went to the concierge in Warsaw, and we said, "What do you do here on Sunday?" He said, "You go to the racetrack." So we went to the racetrack. There were about 4,000 people there, and people were betting and figuring it all out, and then suddenly a bell would ring, and everyone went to the rail. And there were no horses. And then in about 3 minutes, they put up the winners. 3, 6, and 2. So I said to my friend who I was with, "Don't say anything." Next race, same thing. So we finally got a little frightened of this. So we said to a man who spoke French, we said, "Where were the horses?" He said, "They're in Krakow." He said, "We have only one string of horses. One Sunday they're in Krakow, and one Sunday they're in Warsaw." And I said, "Okay, I understand that. But why does everyone go to the rail?" And he said, "Where would you go?" Another event that was very exciting was Princess Grace's wedding. Princess Grace was with 2,000 newspapermen that covered Princess Grace Rainier's wedding. And I went down there, and I had my column, but I didn't know what to do about it. So I wrote a column, and I said, "I know I'm not going to be invited to the wedding because The Grimaldis and the Buchwalds have been feuding. For 5,000 years. And the next day, this is true, I got an invitation to the wedding. I called my wife up that night and I said, this is what it was. She was wearing this, he was wearing that, this is what the guests were wearing. It's very cold on the phone. And I said, what's the matter? She said, it's my birthday. And I said, I was coming to that. But it's been a great conference, and I'm enjoying myself, and I thank you for having me.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Thank you.
And you're going to come back next year.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank God he's so old and he can come next year.